This is TWiT.
So here's my pitch for our story. It's a broadband story because,
Yes.
I love my FCC. Ars Technica just put out a story this afternoon about saying the FCC can define markets with only one ISP now as competitive.
What?
This is an Ars Technica thing. This is from the, I'm trying to read which, U.S. Appeals Court for the 8th Circuit.
Oh, no.
So
there was a competitive market test that existed.
Yes.
And this was challenged in court
by the CLECs.
So CLECs are who? They're the phone companies, right?
They're the competitive local exchange carriers. So they're the not Ma Bells. The not bells.
And purchasers of business broadband. Because the FCC voted last year to eliminate price caps on some business broadband providers like AT&T and Verizon in any given county if 50% of potential customers are within half a mile of a location served by a competitive provider. You just move. You move. It's only half a mile.
So we discussed this because this is a huge thing. I call these broadband black holes. And we see this. Our policy for decades has been to ignore these issues. And there's a couple ways. So there's this particular example. There's also with the National Broadband Map, where you don't actually get address level information for who has broadband and what they have. You grab zip level information. So it's possible for you to be in an area that's competitive, but still only have one provider.
Because you're both in the same zip.
Access.
Yeah. That happens all the time, by the way.
Yes. I could probably call 10 people and at least one of them will be currently right now having this problem.
Right. So I'm in a zip code that theoretically has 2 or more internet service providers, but I only have one that will serve my house or my business.
And this is one of those issues where, broadly it doesn't sound terrible, but individually it's horrific. And like I just said, you cannot do business today without having a broadband connection. I would argue you can't live as a consumer without it, but there are people who do. Personally, I think it's a problem, but some people don't want it. And this is just so messed up. So nothing to do with Google, but a really frustrating issue. We still don't have a solution for it. We may never. I'm hopeful. And 5G, by the way, will not solve this necessarily.
No.
Because you can't, in a lot of areas where it's a real problem, like in rural areas, 5G isn't necessarily going to be able to go out that far. So that's all. This was my story because broadband. Sadness.
Yeah, it's really amazing. You would think that the FCC, of all people, would represent the people.
Oh, really?
and try to get an equitable situation for people in the United States who are suffering with among the worst broadband in the developed world because of anti-competitive pressures from these duopolies created admittedly by the FCC at the behest of the cable and phone companies. But you would think this is a government agency that they would be trying to make internet access easier, more available, less costly, all of the things which are good for society.
Have you not heard of regulatory capture? And I would argue, actually, here's where these things break down, is in the tech world, most companies who are like, I have a cool service, I want to get more people to use it so I can sell more of my service. Think of Intel and silicon, like chips. Think of Amazon and cloud services. So the telcos, though, that is not their mindset. The quote unquote IT mindset is absolutely not theirs. They don't want to give you more of things that use their product. They don't necessarily want you to view their product as a platform on which to grow businesses, because they want to treat their product as this high price, super valuable thing. And it's basically like when Moore's law meets the telcos,
everything goes to hell.
We all lose.
The judges basically accepted the FCC's argument that the impact of a competitor, even if the competitor is not actually competing, but if a competitor is within half a mile, that assures reasonably competitive outcomes in the medium term. As long as they're close.
So absurd. That's like saying you live in America and Canada has Rogers and you're next to it, so it's okay.
Right. Or, yeah. I mean, and this is...
The FCC did not even attempt to show that this is true. The judges, they just said it was, and the judges said, all right, well, you're the FCC. You say so, so it must be true.
Well, and the FCC can't prove it because, and the problem is also on the flip side, the consumer groups can't prove it either because we don't actually have access to that data. But because the telcos say that address level, who gets what data is competitive to them. So if AT&T's exact service footprint were available as a public record, everyone could see it and everyone would know, and then AT&T just loses its competitive edge. I think the policy needs for understanding who and where broadband is outweigh their competitive concerns, especially given that they only have one competitor in most markets.
The judges basically say that both sides, neither side has data. So both sides are applying an economic theory. And the judges say the FCC can rationally choose whatever evidence it wants to believe among conflicting evidence. And we're not going to get in the way.
Who bothers with truth?
Truth is not truth. They can believe whatever they want to because they're the FCC.
It's our world today.
Oh, Lord.